Recent debate over Greenland has prompted a broader strategic question. Could the United States eventually reduce its military footprint in Europe and rely more on Arctic positions, particularly Greenland, to monitor and defend against Russia? The idea reflects real shifts in geography, technology, and great power competition, but it also exposes the limits of distance-based defense and the continuing importance of alliances. Greenland's significance begins with location. Positioned between North America and Europe, it sits along the main air and missile trajectories over the Arctic. For the United States, installations there contribute to early warning, space surveillance, and missile tracking, core elements of homeland defense. As long-range weapons and space-based systems grow more central to deterrence, Arctic sensor networks become more valuable. From this perspective, Greenland offers strategic depth. It extends the defensive perimeter outward from the US mainland. Climate change is reinforcing this importance. Retreating ice is making Arctic waters more navigable, expanding the operational space for submarines, surface vessels, and commercial shipping. Russia has invested heavily in Arctic bases, airfields, and icebreakers to secure its northern coastline and the Northern Sea route. Increased Russian military and economic activity in the high north means the US and its allies have stronger incentives to monitor the region closely. Greenland, near key transit corridors between the Arctic and North Atlantic, becomes a natural observation point. China's role adds another layer. Although not an Arctic state, Beijing views the region as a future trade and resource frontier. It has labeled itself a near-Arctic power, invested in polar research, and shown interest in Arctic infrastructure and minerals. Greenland's deposits of rare earth elements and other critical minerals are especially relevant. With global supply chains for these materials heavily concentrated in China, Western governments see Greenland as a potential, though technically challenging, alternative source that could support energy transition technologies and defense manufacturing. Europe's interest is both strategic and political. Denmark retains sovereignty over Greenland, while Greenland itself exercises extensive self-rule and seeks economic development. European countries depend on stable Arctic governance, secure sea lanes, and diversified mineral supplies. At the same time, they're deeply invested in NATO cohesion. Any suggestion that Greenland might become a substitute for US engagement in Europe raises concerns about whether transatlantic security commitments could weaken over time. This brings us back to the core question. Could Arctic positioning reduce the need for a large US military presence in Europe? In a narrow technical sense, enhanced Arctic surveillance can improve early warning and situational awareness. Sensors in Greenland can track activity across the high north and contribute to missile defense and maritime monitoring. But awareness is not the same as deterrence. Forces stationed in Europe, aircraft, troops, logistics hubs, signal immediate commitment. They complicate any adversary's planning and reassure allies on NATO's eastern flank. A posture centered mainly on distant monitoring from the Arctic would not provide the same political or military effect. The alliance context is therefore decisive. NATO's strength lies not only in capabilities, but in shared presence and mutual confidence. If the US were seen as pulling back physically while relying on remote defense, European governments might question the credibility of collective defense guarantees. That could encourage fragmentation within the alliance at a time when unity remains central to deterring Russian aggression and managing broader global instability. The more plausible path is not substitution, but balance. The US may gradually ask Europe to assume more responsibility for conventional defense on the continent, while it strengthens Arctic surveillance and homeland defense. In that model, Greenland becomes a key node in a wider network, not a standalone shield. In summary, Greenland's strategic value is real and growing, especially for monitoring the Arctic and supporting long-range defense systems. But it cannot replace the political and military functions of a forward US presence in Europe. The future of transatlantic security is likely to rest on a combination of stronger European capabilities, sustained, if adjusted, American engagement, and deeper cooperation in the Arctic rather than a simple shift of focus northward.